to our talk today, to our Friday talk, ETS GitOps with Azure, Terraform, and Argo CD. Today we will show you our ETS GitOps pattern and best practices. Something about the speakers. My name is Victor Gertz. I'm the CTO and founder at iits-consulting. And today I brought with me Ferhart. And yeah, that you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Ferhart Özmen. I am currently working as a cloud native consultant at the iits technology, and thank you for your participation.
Yeah, Fer did most of the stuff, so I don't want to steal his credit. And yeah, something about our company. Yeah, we founded ETS Consulting 2019. We provide agile cloud native development teams that help businesses and automate their complex processes. We use their microservices, Kotlin, and Java mostly in the back end, Vue.js, React in the front end, and we do a lot also of cloud consulting. We help a lot of big customer, with their cloud move or to optimize their cloud setup. And yeah, there we're like handling, for example, projects which are going into petabytes of data, how to handle them. We grow very fast, and now currently we are over 40 employees already. Yeah, the most important thing about ITS consulting, we are very passionate about coding, and yeah, that also yeah stands for the DevOps part. Today the agenda is a short introduction into GitOps, like just a short summary what GitOps is. Then we go over to ETS GitOps style, so we'll show you our best practices, and we'll show you a very small minimal setup which you can use for every of your project. And I think for like I see a lot of customers, and I'm consulting dozens of customers in Germany about cloud, and I think in like 98 cases, this setup, which we will show you today, will bring you forward and will be totally worth it to watch it today, because it's a very, very cool setup. So there we will set up Terraform and Argo CD for you, and later there will be a summary what stuff we learned and what we should watch out for. So what is GitOps? GitOps is the standardized workflow for how to deploy, configure, monitor, update, and manage infrastructure. And yeah, then we're like, okay, nice, but how should I do it in practical? How should I do it in everyday work? Yeah, that we will show you today. If you want to read more about the stuff, this is coming from Weaveworks, so most of you guys know it. They're very good with GitOps stuff, so you can read there some more series stuff. It becomes a little bit clearer if you look at the principles of GitOps. So there's currently 4 big principles of GitOps. The first thing is the entire system should be described declarative. The canonical desired system state should be versioned in Git. Approved changes can be automatically applied to the system, and software agents to ensure correctness and alert on developments. And yeah, these 4 things we want to analyze today, and we will show you our setup for GitOps. Yeah, but if you look at the principles, the 4 principles, and then I hear mostly of the customers, because I consult really a lot of customers in Germany. They are saying then, yeah, but my infrastructure needs to be unique. That's why you cannot follow the best practices and standards, and we cannot put everything in GitOps, and blah blah blah. And yeah, we have such a custom requirements. But sorry, this is all bullshit. And I was talking also last time with a very famous public speaker who's also very knowledgeable in the cloud department. He's also saying every time, like, customer comes, tells they need something unique, you talk with them, and if you have a very good understanding how the cloud setup works, or DevOps works in GitOps, very good developer have every time the same understanding. And I was asking, okay, what kind of setup would you suggest for this in the situation? And he said, yeah, this is a typical standard. You need this and this and this. And in my mind, I was so, okay, I would do the same stuff, you know? So it is every time very, very similar if you do it properly. You don't need to drive so far away from the best practices and standards. You can implement them. And for example, last time I had to also talk with Renus, and they asked how we would make the setup for the Renus company. And I told him how we would do it, and he said, yeah, sounds good. Like, it was just 5 minutes of talk, and the architecture was fixed because he said, yeah, I would also do that like this. And there was the same understanding because he's also on the same level and has the same principles about best practices and clean code and everything. So what we want to show you today is like something, a takeaway, some very, very small stuff which you can take for your project and you can try it out. For this setup, it's very small but super cool. DevOps person should not need more 4 hours to implement that. And if you are not a DevOps person, it should be like 8 hours, maybe 12. But then you also can replay what we do today. So what we do first is we set up the infrastructure. So we use Terraform, and there we set up the Azure infrastructure. Yeah, I baited you a little bit with Azure, but it does not matter which cloud you use because we have a cloud native setup. For us, it doesn't matter. Is there AWS? Is there Google? Or is there Azure? It doesn't matter for us because we use Terraform. You need just to rename some stuff and then it's working. So the first setup is we set up infrastructure. So we need a Kubernetes cluster inside Azure that we will set up today. This will be the first step. Then we use a Terraform Helm provider. So we use Kubernetes to install a GitOps tool, which is called Argo CD. And this Argo CD will take a look at our 2 repos. This is one Git repo for the infrastructure charts. For example, we count infrastructure charts as Kafka, Elasticstack, traffic, and stuff like that. And we will also take a look at business app services, for example, Vue.js or Kotlin microservices, which you have there. So it will take a look at the Git repos, see what's inside there, and we'll just apply it to the Kubernetes cluster. So it's super plain and simple. Like, and this was also the initial picture when I firstly developed it. It was the picture which I had in my mind, but then I came to the point, okay, how to do that? Like, how to make it? And then you need to research a lot and you make a lot of failures and everything like that. And that's what I wanted to show you today, that you will not make the same mistake which I did when I started with all the stuff. So sounds pretty cool, yeah? Terraform makes your infrastructure, deploys Argo CD, and Argo CD, or you can also use Flux, it doesn't matter. Argo CD or Flux just takes a look at the Git repos and deploys everything. It's really perfection, really cool. So yeah, now we will make a 2-step. So I will make the Terraform part, and Ferhart will do later the Helm charts part. And the first step is to set up a Terraform repository. So we will do these 3 steps. We will install Azure Kubernetes service. This inside the AKS, Azure Kubernetes service, we will deploy a configuration charts for Helm, and we will also then install Argo CD itself. So let's get started. This is my newly created project. If you use Azure, you need 3 environment variables. If you use AWS or something like that, you need maybe a little bit different one. So these 2 are for identifying to which cloud we are going. And the third one is the GitHub access token, which we later need for connecting to the Git repos where our Helm charts are inside. So I already exported them, and because I don't want to make them public, I replace them here with replace me. And yeah, so now we can start working. So because I exported these variables, and yeah, the first step is we create a Terraform remote state. In ITS, we have the good thing is we don't reinvent the wheel. So I'm copying from existing projects all the stuff, and we use some kind of like Lego principle. So we have every time modules to reuse. And this time we have a Terraform remote state bucket where you store your current state of the cloud inside this bucket. So I'm just copying from a different project. I'm copying this module here, and I need just to adjust here every time the naming. For example, if I'm going, for example, to shell, and create for the shell company a new project, Terraform project. I also copy the stuff here, and then I'm just changing here the context. We have a same pattern which we follow every time. So here you type in the customer name. Today I would just say we name it Friday Talk. It's a customer name, and then you have here the stage, because we have multi stages every time. We have the most common thing is 4 to have 4 stages. Today we will just use the dev stage. So I will now jump inside this folder, say Terraform init. It will just create us a blob storage where we store all the Terraform stuff. So the cloud representation needs to be stored somewhere in the file, and we will store it encrypted inside the blob storage in Azure. So I'll say now Terraform apply. So what does he say to me? He wants to create this blob storage, and I say yes. Now he will perform these changes, and we have here every time the pattern that we create here, then a folder with the customer name, and this time is now Friday Talk, as we already discussed. And here we put under there, we put the stages, for example, dev, and then you have here maybe production, stuff like that. But today we will just work with development stage. So, and then I'm copying here from our Azure GitOps template. I'm copying again the stuff which we need. So I copy here this 4 files and adjust them to our needs. So the context name is here Friday Talk. The cool thing is also you see now here he is finished with the creation, and it gives us the backend configuration which we need for Terraform. So I'm copying this part here, the backend configuration, and set it here, so it will store it correctly there. So I need to adjust here these variables, and I need to adjust here the backend configuration, but nothing else I need to adjust for that. So, the main TF we will create now from new. So I say here new file main TF. And we will go step by step, not the whole stuff through. So what I'm doing now, I will just copy this stuff, which will create me Azure Kubernetes service. Yeah. I will not tell you all the stuff because it's just some modular stuff. So basically, I want to have I go to my previous projects and just copy the Kubernetes cluster, which I used previously. And this is, for example, the part where it creates me resource group, creates me Kubernetes cluster, and says to me which kubectl command I should execute, so I can connect to the cluster. So what I will do now is I'll go to Friday Talk dev, make Terraform init. We have completely a blank cloud. We have nothing there, nothing. We will set up now everything, and after the 1 hour talk today, we will have multiple Helm charts running. We have certificates. We will have everything, and everything in GitOps style. He downloads now all the configuration which he needs on all the Helm providers. So I will say now Terraform apply. And now he should install me a Kubernetes cluster. In the meantime, I will go a little bit forward because my internet is really slow today. So I will go again to my main TF, so to my templating project, and we'll copy all the stuff here. So what do we have here? Helm CIDs. I need to copy the modules also, otherwise it will not work. There's local modules for Terraform, and also there's remote modules. And these modules we copy every time in the root folder. Also, like the pattern, it's really some kind of like a GitHub template. So you can reuse it every time. And it's very easy to understand how it works. So here comes every time the customer names folder, and then beneath there the stages and modules you put also in the global project. And what we have here one Helm chart. It's from IETS, a Helm chart, which contains the custom resource definition. It is that, for example, if you're installing Traffic has its own custom configuration, which you can do in Kubernetes. But if you have, for example, business services Helm chart, which is using this configuration, you have a dependency to traffic. That means you need to install first traffic, and then you can install your business microservice. And to delete this dependency, we use the CIDs chart. It's also the best practices in Terraform, which will install upfront all this configuration, custom Kubernetes classes, I'll call them. That's what we'll do. Then we will install the Argo CD configuration chart. Argo CD configuration chart means for which Git repos we should look out. So I will here configure to which Git repos it should take a look. This time it's infrastructure charts, and yeah, it's very easy setup. So this one is the source repo where the GitHub token should be injected for pulling it. Here's the project name, infrastructure for the Argo CD project name, the name of the project again, and yeah, the repo URL and under which path the Helm charts are laying. The Kubernetes cluster is now up and running. Let's test it out if everything is working. Sounds good. Nice. 120 seconds. So let's install our first Helm chart. So here, this one. So I say Terraform init. So this one I will delete for now. And then we would just install the custom resource definition first. Terraform apply. Oh, it takes so long. Yes, please install me that. Now you see he is creating a Helm chart, and then he install it. So we say Helm list -a, and there should be CRDs now. Yeah, they're there. So I'm pasting this stuff again. So what is inside here? So there's a configuration chart, which is configuring it. The Argo CD chart, which will install Argo CD itself. Yeah, and then later we just export the public IP of Argo CD. So, but first we need to configure this one. So I go to Argo CD config chart. The Argo CD chart itself is completely independent from the configuration. So we need to do first the configuration of Argo CD, and later we can install Argo CD itself. So I go here and say, for example, our source repo is Friday Talk. And then I say here also Friday Talk, and Friday Talk. Do we have any more? Something to showcase? Yeah, no, we don't have it. We need the GitOps access token. This one is replaced here in the main tab. So here secrets replaced then and injected. You can use also HashiCorp Vault or whatever you want to do. Do we need to do anything else? I think not. Everything else is giving over during the variables. And the variables are anyway injected over the variables from our stage. Then we should be good to go. So we say Terraform init. So if you're going back to the slide, we are making this configuration chart, which will take a look at the Git repo. This Git repo is not there yet. We need to create it, and Ferhart will create it and push there all the Helm charts inside. And Argo CD will then reuse our configuration chart and the configuration which are inside there, and install the infrastructure charts then, based on the configuration which we're having. Terraform apply. I will give you the public IP of the Argo CD and also the password for that, for the login. So you can also take a look at Argo CD and just play it around. And you can see already what we did in, like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that. And maybe you will say, okay, like this is now a very easy setup, but it's not for production. This is like almost exactly how we do it for production. We put security on top and a little bit more, but this is like the core of the concept which we're doing, or what we are doing. And it's really, really easy to set it up. And we are spinning their container, like 400, 600 container there. We're releasing during business hours 7 times a day sometimes, and we have no issues, and we have a very good number of uptime. I think 99.999. So yeah, it's a really pretty cool thing. The GitOps makes your life so much easier if you're doing it properly. So we added it now, and now we have here in our incubator project, we have here also README. So copy this one also. This is like the start for newly guys if they don't know how to do it or need some. Maybe I need some reminders at which servers I need to look and where's the public IP and stuff like that. So I'm just copying this part, and it gives me out the public IP. It works for every setup which we have. So yeah, we will now call this IP address. I think we have self-signed certificates behind there from Argo CD as a default. If you do a proper setup, that's why I'm saying we're doing a little bit more on top. Normally we put their OpenID Connect with role-based access to Argo CD, but in this case it would be way too much. And also there's security upfront with a OAuth2 proxy and stuff like that. So this is admin and this is the password. And yeah, it's already running. So I will put the credentials and everything. I will put it now in this talk. Where's the chat here?
There is also a question in the chat.
Yeah, I answered it in 5 minutes. Because then Ferhart will do the stuff and then I'll answer everything. So this is the password. Try it out. Please don't destroy anything, but you can take a look. Yeah, and you see here now he wants to fetch it, but the repo is not there. So yeah, which makes sense. So now Ferhart needs to create a repo, which will connect to iits-consulting Friday Talk Azure GitOps infrastructure charts.git.
So now that Victor has deployed our cluster and our Argo CD application, now I can continue to deploy the actual Helm charts. And for this, I choose 4 simple Helm charts for this demonstration. And we will start with the HTTP inspector, which is a fairly small, easy deployment. After that, we will continue with the cert manager for the Let's Encrypt certificates. After we have our cert manager deployed, we will continue with our traffic as our ingress controller for basic domain routing. And after that, we will try at least to deploy a Kafka, which is a fairly complex chart, which is working with certificates. But I choose that to show also how easily we can deploy any kind of a Helm chart with Argo CD in just a second. And it's also very fun and very straightforward. So as already Victor suggested, I will create the repository. Okay, we have a README, it's a public repository. And let's create a repository. Okay, cool. So now that the infrastructure charts repository is created, I will check it out in my IDE. Okay, so now I can check out our project. Our Git repo is checked out in my IntelliJ IDE. And what you just basically do is very straightforward. You first have to create your application level. for the Argo CD, so which kind of application we are going to deploy on Argo CD. So for that, we just start with creating a directory. We call it stages. And inside that stages directory, we create a subdirectory. We call it dev stage. And inside the dev directory, we create our actual application, which is the Friday talk GitOps Azure infrastructure charts. Git. Okay, great. Now inside our application, this is our let's say our Argo CD root application. We start following the apps of app pattern from Argo CD, and for that we just create a directory named app, and we also need one directory called templates. Okay, this should be basically it, and I already prepared the necessary YAML files. Let me copy that and put it right here and add them to our repository. Okay, Friday talk. Yeah, what you have to basically do is to get it deployed correctly by Argo CD is that you have to put the correct project name, the repo URL, and the app base path, of course. But in this case, we had Friday talk Azure GitOps infrastructure charts. It's the same. Okay, that is okay as well. Okay, so we don't need that for now. Okay, now our application is configured correctly. And what if you now want to deploy a single Helm chart, and as I already stated, we will start with the HTTP inspector. All you have to do is to copy your Helm chart and pass it inside the apps directory. We add it to our Git, and voila, it's inside. Now, of course, you have to do some kind of additional configuration or customization, but in this case, we don't have to. For the HTTP inspector, let me check out again, just to make sure. Okay, it's web with entry points because we don't need, for this demo, HTTPS. HTTP will just be fine. Okay, that should be it. Now, if I commit and push this, Argo CD should be able to deploy our charts. Okay, so let's switch back to Argo CD. And let's see if we got it pushed correctly. And it's okay. Looking good. Yeah. Now inside Argo CD, our application should be deployed. And let's see. The step I forgot is if you add your Helm chart, of course, inside the apps directory, you have to tell the application itself that you want to deploy that. And by doing that, you have to add it inside the values.yaml of the application level. And there you can add some kind of additional configuration, like the namespace or any kind of Helm parameters. And that's a step I just forgot. Sorry about that. So all you have to do is enter the Helm chart name. And in this case, we just need our namespace. And I think I just take default for that. So that's a big my mistake. Okay, yeah, that's the whole application we need. So this is a very straightforward templating. So without that, Argo CD wouldn't iterate our through our apps directory. So that's why he couldn't do that. So I just forgot to add the application.yaml, which is also part of that solution as well. It was my mistake. Sorry about that. Okay, now I will push that too. Applications.yaml. So let's do it and comment push. Okay, finally. now just give it some. Okay, now you can see our HTTP inspector got instantly deployed by Argo CD. And if we open our application, we can see that Argo CD is currently deploying it straight into our Kubernetes cluster. So just wait a couple of seconds so that our service is coming up and I can access the HTTP inspector in the browser. Okay, it's there. Let's see which IP we got. And let's see if our service is responding. Okay, now it's responding. Just took some time. Okay. Okay, cool. So the HTTP inspector is working, is responding. Just took a couple of minutes. I was just way too fast. And this is basically it, how we just deploy in the Helm chart. And after that, we continue with our cert manager, as I promised. For that, I will go back to my IDE. And I will just check the cert manager Helm charts, paste it inside the apps directory, and then add it to our Git. And let's see if I have to do some additional configuration. Doesn't look that way. Okay. Yeah, that should be it. Then we go to our values.yaml. I will not forget it this time. And we add our newly added cert manager to the values.yaml so that the application knows, the Argo CD application knows which Helm chart we want to deploy in which namespace. In this case, we just need the namespace, and I choose cert manager for that. Okay, let's commit and push. Push. Okay, now let's now let's see. Okay, so what you can see is the sync status. All you can see is that the last commit he synced is the added application.yaml. So the hotfix I just added. The cert manager is not the one he just got from the Git repo. So we could just wait a couple of minutes so that the autosync from Argo CD will just kick in, or just I will just press the button and refresh it manually. So we don't have to wait. And it gets synchronized with our cluster. Yes, correct. As you can see, cert manager is in the state of deploying. And it is deployed. Great. Great, great, great. Okay. Since Argo CD is now busy with the deployment of the cert manager, I will continue with traffic as our ingress controller. I will just copy the chart, the traffic, and paste it inside the apps directory. And we add it to our Git repo, and traffic is there. The domain should be correct, admin.radiotalk ITS Tech. Okay, so that should be it with the additional configuration on my side. I will add this to the values.yaml on the application level as well. And we need a namespace. By the way, sorry about my voice. I hope it's not too distracting. Sadly, I'm a bit sick, so sometimes my voice is just cracking. And traffic, we chose routing. So let's commit that as well. Commit and push. And let's see. Okay, so Argo CD will deploy that in any second. Meanwhile, we have to add a DNS entry for our traffic routing. For that, we just go back to our Azure. And the domain I had inside traffic was here, admins.fridaytalk. So admin.fridaytalk, and the IP we will get in any minute. Okay, now traffic is getting deployed, and it is deployed. Great. You can see it here in the tree. So we have our site manager, HTTP inspector, and traffic. Then we go inside service. I just need the IP. And no, there's a white space. Okay, admin.fridaytalk should be okay. The IPs are good, and just add it. Okay, the DNS entry is now inside. And hopefully we should now be able to call it admin. No, it's here. / HTTP inspector. And voila, traffic is working as well. That's very nice. So now that our traffic is deployed and the DNS entry is set, we will continue with the last and the complex one. This is going to be Kafka. Now let's see if you can deploy Kafka as easy as well. And I just copied the Helm chart, pass it inside the apps directory, and add it to my Git. So inside Kafka, let's see if I have to do some additional configuration. Admin.fridaytalk ITS is correct. Our prefix is AKHQ. And just add it to the edit YAML of our Argo CD application level. And we choose namespace Kafka. Okay, now let's push this to our repo. Push. Now, come on. Stop analyzing the code. Just pushed. Okay. Now that it's pushed as well, let's see if Argo CD is already deploying it. And where it is, yep, Kafka, it's starting. And Kafka, let's see, is currently now in the deployment. Let's wait. And voila. It's really like playing a video game. You don't you don't have to think what you're doing really. You just pass inside the apps directory your charts and push it onto your repository, and Argo CD takes care of the rest for you. So
if you have a good setup.
yes, if you have a good setup. Now let's just wait so our Kafka gets deployed. And it's looking good. It's all synced. Pod is running as well.
The one right bottom was failing because Kafka's not there yet, but we deploy also UI. So if you scroll down the exporter, it's just waiting for Kafka to finish because you have multiple persistent volume claims, multiple pods which you're starting, stuff like that takes some time.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, let's see if we get some kind of a response. I just forgot the prefix. Let me check it again. Inside the Kafka VDS YAML, it was AKHQ. So we don't want HTTP inspector. We want instead AKHQ. And wow, it's running. Easy, right? So it's unbelievable how fast and easy you can deploy Helm charts in your Kubernetes cluster. Now imagine all those kind of steps I just did that you had to do it manually using Helm and Kubernetes itself. That would be rather a pain in the ass. And using Argo CD, and your Git repository as your single sign of truth is incredible. So you can, even if you don't know that much about DevOps, you can use Argo CD. You can see what is actually happening. You can see, for example, Cert Manager, what went wrong, which pod didn't deploy, or which replica site isn't working, or which service isn't working, or which service does not have the correct IP. So if you just click on it, you can see what they got assigned and not. So this is a huge benefit. And now imagine that, doing that with hundreds or thousands of pods, thousands of Helm charts you wanted to deploy with using Argo CD. So it's an incredible benefit using Argo CD to deploy the Helm charts in the way we just developed by with the IITS consulting team, and it's very easy to use. So the first two mistakes I did, those were just my mistakes. So this is my first talk. Of course, a mistake had to happen, but regardless of that, it's fairly easy to use. And so now our infrastructure is up and running, and I would say that you can take over, Victor.
Yeah, then I will take over again. Thank you very much, Ferhart.
You're welcome.
It was super fast now, yeah, but it's just super fast if you have the right modules, if you have the right templating. That's why when you're setting it up and when you're choosing maybe IITS, which can help you with that, you're 10 times faster. And we went through all the trouble and pain again, and like everybody who does DevOps knows that you need to walk through a lot of pain to develop a very good setup. So it's very good to have someone who did it already several times. Now we're coming to a question which was also in the chat. How do I deploy business service? And I wanted to give you some example. This is I made some stuff anonymously, but this is where we use it in production for the business apps. So you have the same pattern. This is super cool because you're doing for infrastructure and for business services, you're doing the same stuff. So you have here again stages, dev, infrastructure, prod. Here, for example, you have the apps pattern, and inside the apps folder, you see on the left side, there's price calculation backend and price calculation frontend. So it's a Kotlin application and it's a Vue.js application. And this one gets deployed also the same. But we try to split it so it's a different project. It's separated from the infrastructure stuff. And so you can create multiple projects and separate them then from the other stuff. So how do I update my Docker image tag? Because this is the most important thing. So you have your microservice and you need to update it. That's why I made this screenshot, because on the right side you can see there's this Helm parameters with the name image tag and the value, which is the Git hash of the Docker tag, like the current Git commit hash of your microservice. And if you put this one under Argo such a file .argocd source, it will source it and will take this as a primary source when he sets it when he deploys the Helm chart. So inside your deployment, you can then reference this image.tag, and so you have every time the latest or like what is inside this file will be also inside your cluster, and this is super cool. And how do I update this one? So I have my microservice, and my microservice should be able to determine which kind of Git version should be deployed, for example, here in production. This is currently done, and you can also read it in the Argo CD documentation by checking out the project where the business services are laying. So it is currently recommended to have a separated repository where you set the versions of the microservices. So from previous slide, this project should be in a separate repository. And what the microservice does, it checks out this project and adjusts this Argo CD source price calculation backend file. And this is, for example, our pipeline we use for templating. So we use it for all of our services. It doesn't matter if it's Python, Kotlin, Vue, or whatever. So it just goes, makes this print command where it replaces the CI commit hash and then makes a push based also on the environment name. So this is just an example how you can do it. And it's also the recommended way by Argo CD. So we come a little bit to the end. So things to mention. So with this setup, with which we showed you with Terraform and Argo CD, you get spin up from zero, from having nothing in the cloud, to 100s of applications. So currently we have around 400, 500 containers, and if the cloud would crash, we can just move it in 10 minutes somewhere else. It's no problem for us. We built up new stages super fast because we just need to copy paste a lot. And you saw also what Ferhart was doing. He was just changing every time the domain, and everything else is anyway indifferent from the setup. So you can use it for different clients and everything. So he just changed every time domain to where it should go next and should be reachable next. And also you saw he did manually the DNS. But what we are doing, but it would be a little bit too complex for this talk, we also manage the DNS entries. We manage it also with Kubernetes, so it's completely fully managed. You don't need to do any manual step. A little bit comparison, Argo CD versus Flux. Argo CD is way much better when you are working together with developers who are need also to have access to the infrastructure code and who maybe will deploy services by themselves. It's super easy for them, and they have also Argo CD UI where they can, based on their roles and permission, maybe restart some parts, look at some config maps and stuff like that. So their Argo CD is the better case. But if you have a team which is completely responsible for the infrastructure, and there will be no people who should interact with the infrastructure stuff, so you have people who are knowing what they're doing, Flux is the way much better tool for you, because yeah, it is better to initially deploy Flux, and yeah, it's the more DevOps way. I would currently see that way. So we use currently both. We use Argo CD and Flux depending on our client's need and the project setup. To update the app Docker image tag is not clean yet, in my opinion, because I really hated that we need to check out this project. This is this part here. We need to check out the global project. So you have a dependency to this repository, which contains all the Git hashes and the deployment information. This is currently what I don't like. There's also solution to put it in the Helm registry and stuff like that, but it makes the things more complicated. And the thing is, are you willing to have this trade-off or not? If you have completely DevOps team with no developers who should interact with that, and if you know what they're doing, I would go with Helm registry and not this file-based stuff which we showed today. But this file-based stuff is in 99% of your projects, most probably a way much better thing than you are currently doing that. And also one thing I forgot to put in the slides is don't make environment branches. This is a common anti-pattern which I see in many, many customers. Don't make environment branches in Git. Because there's also a huge article about it. If you search for a little bit, this is a huge anti-pattern which you should definitely avoid. What did we not cover today? That will Ver tell you, and then we're done for today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Victor, again. Yeah, what did we not cover today? So obviously we did not cover how we use Argo CD and regarding the secret injection using Azure Key Vault or HashiCorp Vault. And hopefully we can do this in the next time by a different talk. But in this demo, it was just important to show you how easily you can deploy your Helm charts and your infrastructure charts inside your Kubernetes cluster using Argo CD and using a Git repo as the single source of truth. And of course, we did also not cover the Argo CD diff exclusions. So the Argo CD diff exclusions are you have sometimes in your charts values or parts which get changed after it has been deployed in your Kubernetes cluster actually. And Argo CD then sees there is a difference between the live manifest file and between the manifest file in your Git repository. So Argo CD would then complain and say, hey, this is not synced, there is a diff. And sometimes you can't change that behavior. Sometimes there is stuff that gets changed. For example, secrets. Of course, you don't have the secret inside your Git repository, and the secret gets injected after it has been deployed in your Kubernetes cluster, and therefore you have a difference. So Argo CD suggests the solution to ignore those kind of diffs, so you can exclude them by the Argo CD and syncing. And this is also a whole other story and topic which we can cover in the next upcoming talks, hopefully. We also did not cover security stuff like using a jump server where we could put Argo CD inside. This is a whole other story as well. And we also did not talk about the CI/CD runner and pipelines for Terraform. And of course, we couldn't cover the definition of done for charts in Terraform code. And yeah, but hopefully we can in the next time or the next meeting talks talk about the CI/CD runners and pipelines for Terraform, and what exactly is the definition of done for charts when you are using Argo CD, and what is the Terraform code definition of done when you are using this kind of a deployment setup. And yeah, I mean, for sure, I choose rather simple charts, except Kafka, to deploy them in our Argo CD solution. But we did also not cover way more complex setups where you have to inject secrets, you have to create more certificates and more complex routing and stuff like that, or even some kind of dependencies. But as I already stated, today the demo was just to show you how easily and fast you can deploy your Helm charts in your Kubernetes cluster, and hopefully in the future we will show you way more complex setups using Argo CD. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed our Friday talk for today, and I thank you for your patience and participation, and I hope we will see us in the future again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions so far?
There are 2 more questions in the chat.
In the chat, wait, I'll read them.
Are you creating development environments for Argo for developers? My project app is too heavy to run it locally, so we Docker compose the Hetzner. And are you using Ansible for any host confs?
Yeah, we use Docker Compose for locally. So we don't use currently development environments for developers. We have some infrastructure and dev staging, but locally we try to do this part. We do like mocking. So every dependencies we mock away. Otherwise, you need also to boot up the Docker Compose stuff. So basically, we mock everything away. So you can develop your own microservice, and when you're finished, it goes to the infrastructure stage, and during the nightly build, everything will be checked. No, Ansible we don't use for anything. So yeah, that's the part. Yeah, sorry, I would like to share way much more. We have way much more wisdom and everything, but yeah, 1 hour is 1 hour, and I hope you got some takeaways. And yeah, if you need some support or would like to work with us together, please give us a call. Yeah, so we can show you also more stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, and see you next time.